Good morning and welcome to this webinar. We are so pumped and excited to be sharing this information with you. My name is Marcus Pitre and I'm joined today with Rochelle Clark, which I'm gonna let you introduce herself. Hi Rochelle, good morning.
Mark, how are you? I am so happy to be here and so happy to be here with everyone. Welcome.
Welcome. And basically this webinar is going to be divided in two parts. The first part, Rochelle's going to talk about it. And what we would like to do is we really want you to get involved into this and really share your thoughts, ask questions. This is really interactive. This is designed for you to really see how you can use this time right now and be productive and really have results, even though that it seems right now that it's totally not the case. So maybe Rochelle, you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit like what you're going to talk about today?
Absolutely. So I am Rochelle Clark, and I'm just so excited to be here with you, Mark, because I think that our two topics go hand in hand. Building a resilient business and having a resilient mindset. You almost can't have one without the other one. So I am happy that we're coming together to provide this information, because indeed these are some of the questions that I receive on my end. Just a little about myself. I am Rochelle Clark, as you know. I own a business. It's called Succession Strength. And what we do is we help keep good businesses in business. And what that means is that we help protect business operations and pass them on to the next generation of leadership. I authored a book. It's called The 5 Critical Succession Conversations for Families in Business. And I've been invited by Forbes to contribute on the topic of business continuity. And I've appeared in a number of global publications. So I am so happy to be here during this time. I know it's a very, very tough time for some people, but well, for most, I should say. But this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. So I'm very happy to be sharing this information with everyone. So just to get started, everyone has a plan. In the words of the great boxer Mike Tyson, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And this is sad, but a little bit true. If you can advance, Mark. What we'll be covering today is the importance of business resiliency, how you're able to spot an unprepared business, and what owners are doing right now, despite the current circumstances, to ensure that their businesses are resilient not only now, but for the future. So let's get started. Business resiliency. What is business resiliency? As a business owner, it's just so important that when you make the decision to start your business, it's so important for you to not only nurture this idea and this passion of yours, but that you give it every possible chance to succeed. And what that means as a business owner is that you're able to protect this business from potential shocks that can happen in the marketplace. And these can be shocks within the marketplace, within the business itself. And this is the level of protection that is needed not only for planned events. So for example, if you own a business, you automatically know that you need to ensure that you're a good salesperson, that your finance is up to speed, that your accounting is up to speed. That's basic preparation. But when it comes to business resiliency, there's also work that you can be doing to protect your business from the unplanned. And this is what I would have said before a few months ago. Protecting your business from the unplanned, whether it's an unplanned illness, whether it's the unexpected death of someone in the family, which was actually the case in my own family's business, which is what led me to start the company a number of years ago. Or you can have a situation where a key employee ups and leaves the business suddenly. Of course, now I need to add to that list, or whether there's a global pandemic. But the important message here is that in order for a business to grow and achieve maximal potential that it has, that business needs to be protected from shocks. And it's the task of the business owner and those who are in charge to put mechanisms in place to protect that business, whether it's insurance, but what we focus on here is business continuity and continuity planning. Business insurance is a part of continuity planning, ensuring that you have the right types of business insurance and the right levels of business insurance. But for a lot of business owners, it's ensuring that you have that cash flow. cash flow is king, which is why it's important that you have the right plan in place in the event that these little shocks come up. So a resilient business is one that is insulated as much as possible from unexpected shocks in the marketplace and unplanned events. You can advance, Mark. So the big question is, how resilient is your business? And by the end of this presentation, it is my sincere hope that you're able to look in the mirror and evaluate your own business's operations, but that you have some key elements or tips to take away to ensure that your business is as resilient as it can possibly be, not only now, but for the future. You know, in the words of the very famous Warren Buffett, the great investor, he said, you know, only when the tide goes out do you discover who's been swimming naked. And in the context of business protection, in the context of ensuring that businesses are protected from the unplanned, I think this is a very, very appropriate statement or quote that Warren made many, many years ago.
I couldn't agree more, because there's a lot of people right now which have found themselves being naked.
Yes. And, you know, it's in terms of planning for sure on many, many levels. You know, were you planning for the unexpected? Perhaps not. You know, did you have enough capital, you know, in place to ensure that your business can be sustained? Perhaps not. Did you have potential workarounds for this business in the event that something else were to happen? Perhaps not. And these are all situations when a business owner can kind of look in the mirror and evaluate and say, you know what, I've been swimming naked. I have been exposed my business has been exposed when it has come to these critical areas. We can advance. So the signs of an unprepared business. How do you know whether a business has been unprepared? And I think now more than ever before, it's very easy to see the signs of that unprepared business. And I'll just go through a few of them with you. First of all, leadership. Was there clear and deliberate leadership from the executives of the business when the pandemic hit or when the crisis hit? Or was it a case where employees were, you know, scurrying around trying to figure things out? Yes, there's a degree of uncertainty when it comes to any unplanned event. However, the way that the owner of the business or the leaders of the business take charge during an event like that sometimes speaks to their level of preparedness. Then it goes down to communication. If a business is without very clear leadership, what you might find is that communication might be incomplete. Communication might be completely absent in some cases. And apologies if you're hearing some noise in the background. Evidently, my neighbors have decided to do a little bit of construction, but here we are. These are the times. So the second thing is communication. If you're encountering a business that has not communicated, has not sent out any notification or any sort of information, letting you know what the state of the situation is, letting you know what potential workarounds are, then that's a business that has been unprepared for the unplanned. Which leads to the next flag, response time. When the crisis hit, and some of you, I know you're making a mental note of some of these businesses and you're thinking, I recognize that. When the crisis hit, and it's been a number of weeks now that we have all transitioned from business as usual to, well, they say the new norm, but you know, to the present state of operating, response time. Some of you perhaps have not heard from a lot of businesses that you frequent regularly. You know, they have not reached out, you know, whether to you directly or perhaps there have been no notifications on their social accounts, etc., letting folks know what's going on, letting folks know what's happening. And then of course there's the response time. There are some businesses that you might have reached out to that maybe never reached out or responded to your request. Response time, that's an indicator of a business that has not planned or it has not been prepared for the unplanned. And the next is flexibility. We have all had to make adjustments to our ways of working. When we started this year at the beginning of 2020, we had plans, we had projections, we had ways of working, and we had goals that we needed to achieve by the end of Q1, going into Q2, etc. Those are out the window. for many, many companies. And many companies have found themselves not only being flexible in the way that they work, so working from home, but flexible in their business models, right? You may have had some restaurants that were sit-in restaurants where you sit and have a meal. Some of them have been flexible enough to switch to online delivery. You may have had some companies, and Mark and I were having this discussion around hair care providers, who have had to switch their business model to fit the times that we're currently operating in. So that level of flexibility is also an indicator of a business that has been prepared. If they have been able to flexibly move from one way of operating to the next in response to the existing situation, they're a business that has had a plan in place. And yes, they may not have been able to, nobody would have been able to predict a global pandemic of this scale, but the level of preparation that a business has through a business continuity plan. And let me just take a minute to explain what a business continuity plan does. It puts a plan in place to ensure that the operations of the business can continue. So, are there workarounds for key activities that the business does? Whether manual workarounds or now virtual workarounds. Number two, is it possible for us to still get paid? Is it possible for us to still pay our vendors? How do we ensure that these key tasks that keep this business running are still able to continue? Once you have thought about that, and once you have a plan in place for that, then your energy during a crisis is spent on reacting, right? You're not figuring out how normal business operates because you would have thought about that in the past. Your energy will be focused on, okay, this is the situation that we're currently faced with. How do we react? So as opposed to figuring out how do employees get paid, you're thinking, okay, this is business, it's not business as usual. How are we able to be flexible with our business model to meet the needs of this particular crisis or unplanned event that we're dealing with? So that level of flexibility, that level of elasticity comes when you have the basics and the fundamentals of the business covered during, with a business continuity plan or something in place that everyone is aware of so that they can switch from normal operations of the business to something else.
There's something that you're talking about that just brought to my attention right now, because I'm thinking right now about the type of shops that I was visiting prior this crisis, and I didn't hear any news from most of them.
Yeah.
Which, that's exactly what you're referring to, is, are you still in contact with your customers, with your loyal customers? Are you loyal to your clients while that, it seems that nothing is happening, which you can ensure that continuity, which I found this extremely valuable. And a lot of people which are on this call right now, you are a business owner. I hope this is the reason why you're here. Have you done those things while that I see a lot of people right now that they're just having their hand crossed, their arm crossed, and they're just waiting. They're looking at the news all the time. And I would like you to develop a little bit more on this. How do we create a plan around this? Because I can see that some business can ensure their future just because of that little attention that they're putting right now on their customers and clients.
Absolutely, Mark. And it's a good segue. When we advance the slides, I will give you information on what business owners are doing right now. Not everyone is sitting on their hands. Not every business owner is sitting on their hands. So if we go back to the presentation, I'll walk you through some of the tips or some of the things that we're working on with business owners at the moment when it comes to ensuring that they have that continuity when restrictions are lifted. So those are the signs of an unprepared business. But the big question to you is, okay, now we've, named and shamed, well, not named, but mentally pointed out companies that are not prepared, right? Whether it's the local coffee shop that we go to every day, whether it's our local, well, not the grocery store, because I'm sure that many people are still going to the grocery store, but the companies that we support when times are good, we have not heard from them. But the question is, how prepared were you? If you own and you run a business, these same things, I want you to kind of flip the mirror a little bit to almost gauge whether or not you as a business owner or you as a business leader have done these things to prepare your business for the unplanned. So to answer Mark's question, one very, very good quote that I like from Lloyd Blankfein from Goldman Sachs, he said, people remember forever how you act at this critical time.
Mm.
Right? We're going to get through this. We are going to get through this. Regardless of what the news said, we are going to get through this, and the reputation that you form during this period of time will stay with you forever. You know, so folks, consumers and customers don't want to know that, yes, they know that it's transactional, but at some point in time, they want to have that connection with you. They want to know that you matter as people, and that when you walk in the door, you know, business owners just don't see you as a credit card or dollars. You know, they want to know that people actually care. This matters. Also the values, you know, before this, we did a lot of work with companies on values and value alignment. But this is where the rubber hits the road when it comes to the values that you say you espouse as a business. You know, are you living your values? And okay, now is not the time to be, you know, addressing that at the moment, especially if you are in the business of ensuring that your operation continues. But just take note. Take note of how your business and how the people in your business are reacting. Perhaps there's a value alignment that needs to be addressed once the restrictions have been lifted. Now, go ahead,
Yeah,
Mark.
what I was going to say is, if you look at, for example, let's take Starbucks as an example, is the reason why people are willing to wait half an hour in a line to get a cup of coffee. It makes me feel that this idea of that little attention, that they're asking for your name, and they want you to remember that experience that you got to pick up your Starbucks coffee. I'm always shocked, in believe me, I've been in those lines, but I'm always shocked to see people willing to wait for half an hour to get a cup of coffee. That is insane. But it is that value that you're mentioning. It is that remembrance, having your name on your cup of coffee. It seems that it creates something in the mind of the customer, of the clients. It trigger that desire to be recognized and to say, you know what, I matter, I count.
Mm-hmm. Yes. People are humans and we're all going through this together. So take a moment, even if you're a business owner. Yes, I know it's chaotic. You're perhaps losing money and it's chaos all around you, perhaps. But take a moment to acknowledge the human beings, you know, with whom you interact, whether they're your customers, whether they're your employees, suppliers, vendors. So what are business owners doing now, Mark? And we can advance. Business owners are not sitting on their hands. You know, at least the ones who've been reaching out and the ones that we've been working with. So I'll give you just an idea of some of the work that we have been doing with business owners to help prepare them to jumpstart their operations once their restrictions are lifted. Communication. We have communication plans in place, and we're sending out communications, packages of communications that are targeted to existing customers, that are targeted to employees, targeted to vendors, suppliers, even peers in some instances. And I will tell you a story about peers. Prior to this pandemic, prior to this crisis that we find ourselves in, a lot of business owners might have been working on the premise of, you know, I'm in competition with X or Y or Z, so I'll keep my blinders on and keep doing what I'm doing. That, my friends, is not necessarily the best way to operate, because what you find is that when, and this is a situation, I'm talking from my own personal experience as well, my family's situation. After we had a death in the family that caused me to have to put an emergency continuity plan in place to keep the operations running, what we found is that we had to be planning a funeral and figuring out how this business continues at the same time. I would not wish that on my worst enemy. But what it did reveal to us is the fact that the networks that you make, you need to nurture when times are good, and also it helps give you that another level of protection when times may not be going so well. Your competitors in the marketplace, what we're finding is that through networking, we have lots of businesses that are coming together, banding together for the benefit of each other. So whether it's your neighbor next door, you know, with whom you may not do business directly with, but you may find a way to come together to collaborate to maybe have your business's rent reduced from a shared landlord.
Mhm.
So having those networks in place, nurturing those networks, very, very important for the continuity of a business. In our situation, it was a case where there was the unexpected death and there was a lot of bandwidth in the business. We had lots of customers that needed to be serviced. So what we ended up doing is reaching out to other peers in the industry with whom we had very good working relationship with to kind of say, hey, this is the situation, can you help out? And so many were so good when it came to, just stepping in and saying, yes, we are able to assist and this is how we're able to assist. But that may not have been possible if there was not the existing relationship with those peers. So communication, very important, way of doing work. Ensure that you have very good relationships with everyone. Well, not everyone, but as many people as possible within and outside of your industry. Planning is the next one. Business owners are planning. Yes, there's business continuity plans that are being put in place, maybe for the first time, because some business owners may not have known about or felt the need for plans before. So they're putting those in place because they're recognizing the importance of them. They're updating existing plans. And Mark and I were having a conversation yesterday about Wimbledon, the very famous tennis tournament. And you all may have read the news that said, Wimbledon is on track to collect an insurance payout of about 141 or 121 million US dollars on a pandemic insurance policy that they had put in place a number of years ago. This is a policy that they were paying 2 million US dollars for per year in premiums. Now, the story of this is, when it comes to planning, is that Wimbledon didn't have a crystal ball that said, a pandemic is coming, plan for this. They put this insurance coverage in place after the SARS outbreak a number of years ago, right, when they were living through that potential crisis, and they said, you know what, we are extremely at risk, so this is what we would like to do. And in some cases, it's not possible at all for us to predict, but this is why we plan. This is why we update plans to be flexible enough to meet the needs of potential risks that the business might be going through. So updating of plans is another thing that business owners are doing. And Mark, you had a really good example when it came to putting those continuity plans in place and ensuring that as a business, businesses are flexible enough and planning as they go and adjusting to the situation as is.
Yeah, the idea behind this is you need to have a plan, but understanding that your plan for the most part is going to be flawed, because you're missing data. So you're missing data as you're moving, as the condition and circumstances are changing all the time. So you need to have a plan, but understanding that that plan will change as you're moving forward. So you cannot be, and this is why I love that you're talking about flexibility. You cannot be so rigid on that plan and be stubborn on like, no, this is what we planned, because that plan may be totally obsolete moving forward into time. So you have to have that flexibility. The plan needs to be there, but understanding, and what I see from the most successful entrepreneurs is they are able and willing to do 180 degrees change on their plan. The goal never changed. The goal never changed, but the plan will, because you're adapting to the condition and circumstances. Now you're going to understand as well that we can have a little bit more control if you're prepared on condition and circumstances, but that is part of the planning.
Exactly. Great point. And I just thought that we should highlight that as well to the listeners and viewers, which of course comes down to flexibility. What are business owners doing now? Well, we're working with them to come up with new business models. So for example, if it's not business as usual, what else can they be doing to ensure that either A, they're making money now, or they're preparing their business for the future when restrictions are lifted? Because here is the thing. This new way of working, there are lots of companies before that were not as virtual as they are now. I don't think that's a secret to anyone. A lot of companies have moved their business models to be more virtual now than ever before. The big barrier for moving virtual in the past was discomfort. Folks didn't know how it was going to work. It was new. It was, why do that when our existing ways of working work? Well, the fact that the entire globe has been forced and pushed because of this pandemic to explore online ways of conducting business has meant and will mean one thing for sure. A, folks are getting more comfortable in working online. I have spoken with a number of business owners who have said, wow, actually, it's not so bad. Perhaps I can, save money on renting a office space and just work from home more often. So what you're finding is that this change that has been forced on us may end up sticking for a number of businesses. As a business owner, take heed though, because that could mean two things for you. Either A, you have to ensure that you are also keeping up with the times and switching, but B, that means that if you are sitting back waiting for restrictions to lift in order to go back to business as usual, some of your competitors are zooming past you because they have adapted to the new way of working. And consumers are also liking maybe the convenience of working remotely or operating in a remote kind of way. So it's a case where once the toothpaste is out of the tube, there may not be turning back for some business models, right? Or for some businesses. So keep that in mind as a business owner. Perhaps after restrictions are lifted, it may not be going back to business as usual. And are you prepared for that? So that's when it comes to flexibility. One more thing when it came to planning that I didn't touch on. I've spoken with at least 3 business owners in the past week, and they said, this pandemic or this crisis has opened my eyes to a number of things. People planning is one of them. The way that employees have reacted to the crisis, a lot of them have said, this has opened my eyes to say, hey, perhaps employees that I may have pegged as leaders may not necessarily be able to handle a role. Or perhaps I've seen some who've been sitting in the wings who I may have absolutely overlooked. But the way that they have reacted to this, they have just, mentally, and I know we'll be talking about resilience when Mark comes on board, but they have just been able to almost switch and adjust to the conditions. And I have seen a side of them that I never saw before. So once the restrictions are lifted, I am looking for a new path to put them on when it comes to their development or when it comes to their role in the business. So planning is something, people planning is also something that's happening at the moment. I can't go past mentioning conservation, the focus on cash. Cash is king, cash flow is king. So lots of businesses are putting plans in place to ensure that they're being as prudent as possible when it comes to conserving cash. And we're discussing different ways that they can do that. And then, of course, values. As I mentioned before, are you a company that is living your values? If you're looking around you and saying, wow, this is not the way I would have liked us to react to this pandemic, or if you're also looking back and saying, wow, in 10 years, I don't like the story that will be told about my company or about myself coming out of this pandemic, then you may have a misalignment when it comes to your values. I'm not saying to jump on addressing that right now, because it does take a lot of work and some resources to mentally get in that place. But just take note. Are you living your values? What can you do to ensure that you're closer to living your values now? But then you potentially need to have some work done on those once restrictions are lifted. So the question is, all business owners are not sitting on their hands. They're not sitting on their hands. Some of them are looking, and this is the beauty of being a business owner, right? That elasticity in your approach. You need to be able to be flexible, right? To move with the way that things are working. So some are saying, all right, this is the opportunity that's in front of me right now. How do I make use of it to the best of my ability? What help could I get to get my business to the next level? Not only to ensure that we're strong enough, but mentally, am I in that right place? So the question is, what actions are you taking to get to that next level?
This is so good. There's so much value into what you just mentioned. And all this turns around creating that proper plan for yourself. So if something like this come to happen again, well, you have everything in place, that you know that you have continuity. And even though, like, we don't need a pandemic, or we don't need a crisis in order to create this. If you have this in place, imagine what happened into your business when we are in total growth.
Yep, it's one less thing to be thinking about. So what I would say is, if you found this valuable, right, if you're interested in the continuity of your business and coming up with ways to ensure that you're able to jumpstart your operations once restrictions are lifted, let's connect. You could visit the website. It's www.successionstrength.com, or you can send a quick email, info@successionstrength.com. We're doing lots of consultations now, so you can feel free to be one of those business owners who's doing something about this current situation that we're in. Follow us on LinkedIn, on Twitter, we're on Instagram and Facebook as well. I look forward to hearing from you.
That is so cool. Thank you for this. I don't know if you guys have some questions that you would like to address while that we are here. We're having Rochelle, which is available to answer your questions. There's a couple ways you can do that. You can either go into the chat, and I want you to get involved, because I had some people that reached out to me and said, like, you know, is this a good time right now to start a business? And I'm going to talk a little bit about this in a moment. But I believe that this is absolutely the best time to start a business right now, because you've got time. You've got time on your hand to start thinking. Rochelle is talking about the value. I believe that this is the perfect time to reevaluate your business, because, like, you don't have all that distraction that normally you're having with like, you know, professional sports and the gossip happening, and the newspapers and all of those things, which is part of our regular life. And we don't even realize how much that we are involved into a bunch of nonsense, which right now nonsense is gone, right? So you have all of your focus that you can have into, I'm going to create a plan. I'm going to create like this business that I always wanted. And that's going to transit as well to what I want to talk about, which is mindset. But in meantime, I want you to ask questions, to go into the chat, so you can ask questions there, or you can ask questions as well through the Q&A. You have this in the bottom of your screen on the control panel. So please get involved, ask questions. And as well, I want to hear as well, like, from you, what business are you involved with? Because you could be in a business right now that you cannot see, because like you're too close to the tree.
Yeah,
you're just like right there, but there's an entire forest behind it. And I want to hear, what is it that you're doing, and how can we help you to really get to that next level? Because as I mentioned, right now the opportunities are absolutely phenomenal, but you've got to see it. You've got to realize it. And it starts by having the proper mindset and having a plan as well.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, Mark, I think that's such a good point that you bring up about opportunities being there. You know, in working with some of these companies, what we're finding is that the collaborations and the potential for really blowing up the business and coming up with ways that this business can move forward, they're absolutely tremendous. So having your mindset, I'm just so excited about what you'll be speaking about right now, having your mind in that place where you are open to and receptive to moving not away from, but towards the opportunities. I think that's really, really key. I'm happy that so many have joined us. Of course, let us know particularly what type of business that you're in. I like that point, Mark, because we may have examples that you may be able to benefit from. So feel free to use this as well as you know, a little bit of a coaching session for yourself, if you will.
Absolutely. So let me just set up like for my part of the presentation, and then we can, meanwhile, what I would like you to do is I would like you to write into the chat, so we can assist you there. So I'm going to talk about mindset into this and have a resilient mindset right now into this time, and that your business can continuously grow. Right now, what we're doing my business and my colleagues. And actually one thing that I love about Rochelle is when we reach out to her to do this, she was saying like, yeah, but we do pretty much the same. So I don't know how that we could do that. It's just like, why not right now coming together and offer to the audience something that they can profit and take our strengths and share it. And we would probably never would have worked this way if this would not have been here. So again, you can use something that happened and see the opportunity through it, instead of doing what you've been doing all this time, is like, oh no, this person is in the same field, I'm not going to connect to that person. I believe that that's a competitor and all this. So changing that mindset will help you tremendously to start creating different results for yourself. And you're going to see like what I'm going to share about the mindset in a moment. But just to tell you a little bit about me, I'm the founder and chairman of Marche Fit Consulting. I have a degree in communication at the Collège Radio Télévision de Québec, which I'm coming from Quebec, Canada. My mother tongue is French. I'm an author, wrote a book, 100 Million Possibilities. So there's 9 chapters that will impact your life. I'm an expert into disruptive ideas. So really what I focus on is how to think totally outside the box, how to create things out of nothing. And all this comes from your mindset. So I do keynote speaking and sales training, which is a big part of my career. And I'm working with the legendary Bob Proctor. I'm part of his close inner circle, and I'm one of the leader of his organization. So I'm helping other coaches to start living their dream life, which they want to help other people. So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about the importance of the mindset. We're going to talk about order, and I'm going to give you a ritual that you can implement right now. So out of this, what you're going to realize that you can use this information and start applying it right now. And if you do what I'm telling you, you will see things going to happen in your life that you would never imagine possible. But it all starts by understanding where all this is coming from, and it's truly through your mindset. Dr. J.B. Ryan, which have been doing a lot of experimentation with NASA, with people which are totally on other side of the globe. I've been working at really, and he was one of the first one to really have data on how the mind operates and the power of the mind. And the mind is the greatest power of all of creation. As far as we know, on this planet, we are the greatest creation. And what we've got to do is we've got to understand that our mind this is where everything starts. As a matter of fact, and some of you might think that this is ludicrous, but that is the reality. Everything that is happening in your life, 95% that is happening in your life comes from your mind. Only 5% comes from strategy. And this is studies that have been done through brain plasticity, where that the mind can always be regenerated. And there's some synapses in the brain that can be recreated. Doesn't matter how old you are. The body might fall apart, but the mind is continuously is in expansion. And I want you to really pay attention to what I'm going to say right now. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because it is so potent and so important, so powerful, that if you truly go deep down into the signification that what I'm going to share, you're going to realize how important you are. And one of the things that most of us are doing is we are minimizing our potential. We are minimizing what we can do. We believe that, this person can do this, but I can't. But when you understand that the reason why you are here is you are part of a perfection, which we're going to call it the universe. Some people is going to call it God. Some people is going to call it the infinite intelligence. It doesn't really matter what brand that you're putting on this. But if you would not be there, if you're not there, the universe will be out of alignment. So understanding how profound this is, because when I understood this for myself, when I understood that I am part of this great creation, and without me, and it's not an ego trip, okay? And I don't want you to take this as an ego trip, but without you, and I'm not talking about the neighbor, I'm not talking about like the one next to you, I'm not talking about another person into this webinar, I'm talking about you. Without you, the universe will be out of alignment. So right now, what is happening is part of the great design, which, don't ask me why, but there's two ways that we can see this. And the beauty about the mind is the mind cannot focus on two things at once. The mind can focus only on one thing at a time. And this is one thing that I'm going to share in a second. So you can see what's happening right now in two ways. You can see this is a crisis. It's going to destroy my business. It's going to, like, this is so bad what's happening. Or you could see this as an opportunity. And if you are taking the time to look at the ideas that you are getting out of this webinar, you can realize that this has been a pivotal point into your business, into your life, into your family's life, into humanity as a whole. Because right now we are forced to kind of retract, but I want you to use the example of a tsunami, which is, I think it's a perfect example into this. Like before the tsunami hit the coast, normally it's going to retract, right? And the more it retracts, the more power will be generated when it comes back. So this is what is happening right now. We are into this retracting mode where that we have to really reevaluate. And this is what I love about what Rochelle said about values. This is the time to really reevaluate what is the values of your company. What is the message that you want to put out there? How do you want your clients and customers to remember you? And if you are clarifying those values, which this is something that we're doing every day we are really focusing is what is the message that we want to share with our audience? How can we share this message in a better way? How can we create this impactful message so that the people are saying, you know what, I want to be surrounding myself with people which are thinking this way, because I know it's going to be valuable to me, to my business, and to my clients. So this is something right now, it is such a beautiful time to really do that, to retract, to be into this state of mind where that you can truly create something absolutely magnificent, beautiful, and orderly. And this is where that brings me to my next point. I see Rochelle put herself on mute. Let me see if she has something to add here. I don't know if you can unmute yourself.
Yes, Mark. And, you know, I'm sitting here just nodding my head, and I hope that everyone on the call has their pen and paper ready. But what you're saying is absolutely right. The ideas that are coming out of this, you know, once folks put aside the fact that, you know, they can't do anything about it, there's a lot that can be done. There's so many opportunities out there that may have not been ever anything that you might have even considered in the past. But it's a beautiful, beautiful time for businesses, you know, business owners, once they're in that space of openness, you know, once they're open to the change and open to the possibilities, there's so many beautiful things that can come out as a result of this. So yes, continue. I love it.
Awesome. Like this morning, like when I was doing my study, there's something that came out to me, and I want to share this with you, is every time that there's a new ideas which is presented to you, try to look into the good in it. And what you're going to realize is not only will you discover the good, but most likely your life is going to transform because you're going to develop this new attitude that every time something new comes, you want to see the good in it. Like most likely right now, like our habitual behavior is based on something new is coming. We put a wall. We are getting scared. Just now, I don't want to get out of my comfort zone. My way is working. Why would I change that? Without even taking the time to try to see what is the good into what I'm hearing. And that is a beautiful habit. So that is the first thing about your mind that I really want you to start thinking, that if you start looking into the good in anything, everything, your entire life is going to start transforming. Now, there's a Harvard University teacher, professor, which I've been saying, Williams James is his name. He said, the greatest discovery of our generation is that people can change their life by changing their attitude of mind. And that was in the beginning of the 1900s. And he said, this is the greatest discovery of my generation. But guess what? This is still accurate today. So just by changing your attitude of mind, everything in your life will change like that. So what I want you to see out of this current situation is, what is the good in this for me? Even though that right now your entire life could be upside down, you can be you can be in a dire straight situation. You can be not able to pay your bills and to pay your suppliers and all those things. I want you to see what is the good in this. And just by a change of attitude, you will see that the outcome must change. It cannot be any other way, because again, 95% of everything that is happening in your life comes from your mindset. The strategy is only 5%. Okay, so it's extremely important that you are aligning yourself with that mindset and really see this as a wonderful opportunity in disguise. Okay. Again, if you do have some question, I want you to click to like write the question through the chat, or go into the Q&A and let us know what you're thinking or what is your question. I love this. This is, for me, was as well something that changed my life. Order is heaven's first law, which goes hand in hand with what Rochelle talked about. Because when you are creating continuity, when you're creating a plan, when you are prepared, what you do is you're creating order. And you're starting working with the law. Now, I was talking about that the mind can focus only on one thing at a time. And this comes from the law of opposite, the law of polarity. So polarity, the law of polarity says that everything has an opposite. Hot, cold, in, out, yin, yang, positive, negative. Okay, so everything has an opposite. Even into your cells, you're gonna have a positive and a negative in the cell. So, but your mind cannot focus on one thing, on more than one thing at a time. So if right now you're thinking everything is bad, well, what you're creating is bad around you. But just by changing your attitude of mind on this, is like, where is the opportunity for me in this? And try to look into the good. You cannot do any other thing but start looking at the good into your surrounding. And it could be just that, you know what, I have a roof over my head. I have a great family. I have, I'm healthy. You know, I haven't caught this thing. I'm healthy. I'm into this state. I can still communicate with people around the world. I can create a new business model for my company. There's so many good into it if you start looking for it. But if you're into this state of negativity, the only thing that can get out of it is negativity. You cannot get positivity out of negativity. It doesn't exist. Not possible. Okay. So understanding that we live in a very orderly world, everything works by law. One of the other law that I absolutely love is the law of cause and effect. And you can create the cause. The effect is a result. The effect will take care of itself. But if you are focusing on the cause, meaning I'm going to prepare my business, I'm going to create a plan, I'm going to create a continuity, I'm going to look at all those aspects, I'm going to reevaluate my value, I'm going to share a message which is I want an effect out of this, but what you can control is the cause, which is what is the message that you're sending out. So when you're starting working with the law, which there's 7 primary law, which they're all coming from one thing. Energy is, if you're a scientist, God is, if you're more like in the theology aspect, but that is the first law. And there's a subsidiary law, which comes from this, which are all intertwined. They're all working one with another one. And when you start doing this, when you start utilizing those, you're living in an orderly way, an heavenly way. And that part makes you stay in control of your life, makes you stay in control regardless of what's happening on the outside. We are continuing doing business. For us, it's business as usual. Why? Because we moved our business online 4 years ago. So like what happened to us right now, the only thing is I'm not allowed to go to my coffee place, which I absolutely love and I want to go back to. That is the only thing that is different. But in terms of business, I'm in touch with my clients every single day. I'm continuously having a presentation with new clients. I'm continuously having new prospects. So nothing has changed. Why? Because we were prepared, because we're living in an orderly way. Does that make sense? This is extremely, extremely important that you understand this part, because if you're not living in an orderly way, which by the way, 95% of the population are living in a total chaos. This is why what is happening right now create chaos in you, because there was already chaos there. The people which are not experiencing chaos right now is because they were already having order in their life. So it's really important to understand that. And then we just had a question about this. Let's see. Carolyn, she's saying, Mark, could you kindly re-explain the law of polarity and why it's important here? Because everything has an opposite. So in this current case that we feeling that, oh my God, like this is so bad, you know, I lost my job, I don't have any income. And so your entire attention right now is on the negative polarity. But if you would just change your perception, go from the negative polarity that everything that is bad, to the opposite, which what is the positive that I can see in there? Which could be, okay, I'm going to start my business, which I always wanted to do for years, but I was pushing it out. You know why? Because I was comfortable. I was comfortable. You know, I had a paycheck every month. I was able like to do my stuff. I was not really happy, but I was comfortable. Well, right now, there's a magnificent opportunity, which you've been forced to take and to move on with this opportunity if you're looking into it. But we can like just, you know, sit on our hands, as what Rochelle said, and just wait. Or we can truly jump on the opportunity and say, okay, I'm going to do this because right now I have no choice. But you never want to find yourself into this situation to be forced by an outside condition and circumstances to make your decision. You want to be able like to make those decisions based on your own desire. Does that make sense? Carolyn saying, perfect, thanks. Wonderful. So you want to live into this orderly matter. It's extremely important. And I love this quote by Albert Einstein. Let me see. Oops. I need to take a little technical problem here. So I love this quote by Einstein. We cannot solve our problem with the same thinking we used when we created them. You're into this position right now if you feel that there's negativity in your life. It's because your thinking was wrong. Because if your thinking was right, you would see this just the way it is, as an opportunity. Like your attitude right now toward this crisis must be aligned with the type of results that you want to have. And one thing that you have to understand, change is something that is a guarantee. The world and the economy that we're living today won't be the same tomorrow. And in a year or two from now, it will probably be different as well. So change will always occur. So why not embracing it? Why not saying, you know what, that is great opportunity in there. What is it? What is the part for me in that opportunity? And that is a state of mind. This is where that you need to bring your mindset and that you truly start thinking the right way. Rochelle, do you have something you would like to add into this piece? Let's see if I can unmute you. There you go.
Okay, excellent. You know, I think this is so important, Mark. And you know, I was just itching when you mentioned this. You're absolutely right. And now, you know, there's the prevalence of so many business coaches and mastermind groups, you know, that a lot of listeners might have been hearing about. And the purpose of those mastermind groups, you know, is just to help around this same exact point that you're bringing up, Mark. Sometimes we get so focused, we're in the weeds, that it's really impossible to see the possibilities, to see the opportunities. This is why having a sparring partner sometimes can be so important to get you from one level of success to the next. Because listen, I don't have all of the answers for myself. Mark, you don't have all of the answers for yourself. Nobody has all of the answers for themselves. So to get from one level of performance to the next, you need sometimes to have an outside person really helping you think and helping you to get there. So this is really powerful.
I love what you're saying right now, because one of the reasons why I'm so positive about this and I can see the upside is because I have a huge network of people with whom I mastermind every single day. And we are always looking at, okay, so what's the next step? How can we create this? And like, I mean, if we go to corporate, there's a name for this, and it's called a board meeting. It's called a board room. This is what they do, is they get together and they are masterminding on how can we bring the business at another level. And this is people from all kinds of different fields. You know, if you go into the very big corporation, they bring people like from pharmaceutical, and they bring people from production, and they bring like all kind of different field, which they bring into under one room, and then they are thinking outside the box.
Yeah, your personal board of directors. I love it.
You can do the very same thing and have people, but you need to have people which are thinking at the same frequency, the same length, like that are positive, that really want their business to advance. But at this time, this is a perfect time to create something like this, so you can get out of your own way, which basically, you know, you cannot solve your problem if you are using the same thinking that creating those problems. Make sense?
And I see Caroline has a nice tip here. She said she uses visualizations to help her get what she desires. And, you know, also to help practice the emotions that she feels when she has that desire. And I think, Mark, this gets back to your point on, you know, you can either focus on the positive or focus on the negative, but you can't do both at the same time.
Correct.
So what Caroline is suggesting, you know, that she's focusing on that positive. And I think if you're consistently focusing on that positive, there's almost no room or no space for you to focus on the negative. So there's only one direction that you can go. You go where you look, right?
Exactly. You know what I love about what you just said is, Caroline, is this goes exactly with the next step.
Excellent.
And that's exactly what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to give you a quantum leap ritual right now, which it takes only 12 minutes. And what I want you to do is I want you to implement this morning and night. And if you do this 12 minutes in the morning, 12 minutes at night, you will see not only your business will transform, your life will transform, and you will get some ideas that never before were there. What you're doing with this is you're tapping into the unseen. And I will take the example of Thomas Edison when he created the incandescent light. The way that he did that is through meditation. Like most of you might know, or you might not, but he attended 3,000 times to create that incandescent light. And every day in the middle of the day, he was having a nap in meditation. And through that, one day, after 3,000 attempts, the idea came. So he was tapping into the unseen. And what the idea told him is just like, if you would put some gas into that bulb, it will alleviate, it will like stop the element to burn. Where is that idea came from? It was not existent before, but it's through that meditation. So you are tapping into the unseen. So it's very important. There's 7 points that you need to go through. I'm going to explain this to you, and I really want you to take this and incorporate this into your life. I know Caroline just said, like, I'm using visualization. This is a visualization which is very, very powerful and very practical. This is the part that I love about this. So anybody can do this. And it takes only 12 minutes. So if you have 12 minutes, if you don't have 12 minutes, well, look into where are you spending 12 minutes that is not productive into your day. And I promise you that by adding this, your life's going to transform. So the very first thing is you want to be still. You want to be relaxed. So you want to really calm yourself. You want to maybe like take 2 or 3 breaths, deep breath, breathing by the nose and exhaling by the mouth, which it's going to just bring your attention down to where you want to go. Then you need to have a picture. You need to have a drawing. You need to have a symbol of that life that you imagined completed. Like it could be, I don't know, it could be like a type of cars that you want to drive. It could be a vacation that you would like to have. It could be like maybe having a picture with someone because you did a keynote presentation with that person. Like whatever picture that symbolize that goal, that wish fulfilled. Okay. And what you want to do is you want to trace. So close your eyes and then you want to trace with your finger, looking at that picture in your mind, and you want to trace it with your finger. So you're drawing it. What you're doing is you're utilizing, you're projecting yourself in the picture physically. So it's a very powerful exercise. Okay. Then you want to read out loud your goal, which, by the way, as a business owner, you should have a goal. Like, I mean, this like is like 101 business, right? You need to have a goal. So you should read out loud your goal. What are you aiming for? Then number 4, visualization or meditation, whatever you want to call it. You want to take 10 minutes and you want to get into that picture. Now, don't let your mind wander and just float around. No, you want to put yourself in that picture. What you will realize is that picture is gonna start forming around you. Okay, so you might be like, you know what, I want to have this in a year. I want to have this in 5 years. It doesn't really matter. You need to live in that picture while that you visualizing. Yeah, go ahead, Rochelle. There you go.
Okay, I have a question about the picture. This
Yes.
picture that we're drawing, am I drawing myself in the picture or am I drawing what I'm looking at?
No, it's a symbol. For example, like the symbol I have is a diamond.
Mhm.
Like not a tiny diamond, like a big piece of diamond, right? So that is a symbol that represent you with your goal achieved.
Yes.
Okay. Again, no, I don't, that's not a picture of you. That's really a symbol that represent that. So like I have a diamond. It could be that you have a yacht, for example, right?
Mhm.
A 100-foot yacht. Well, you're gonna draw with your finger that yacht. Well, that is creating basically you're creating out of nothing.
Uh-huh. And then when I do the meditation, I envision myself on the yacht.
That could be it. Yes,
Uh-huh.
exactly. That could
Bringing
be
it
it.
to life.
You're living it, right? So
Yes, yes.
you're into that picture. You're living that. Now, number 5 is the most important one. Is write down the insight that's going to come to you, because you're going to have some insight. You're going to have some impulses coming from source, coming from God, coming from the universe, going from infinite intelligence. It doesn't matter how you call it, but there's something there which is guiding you, and it's going to give you insight. Don't question those. Act on it. Okay. We had a conversation, Rochelle and I, like first conversation we had, and I had like an impulse, and I said to her, like, we should do this now. We need to act like quickly. And she said, oh, I love that. This is what an impulse does, is tells you exactly what you should do, and you should do it right now. If you're not acting on the impulse, you're telling the universe, you know what, like, I think I'm fine. I'm good where I am. Is it what you want? Nah, I don't think so. So act on the impulse. Very, very important. Now, if there's no impulse coming, you might have some words coming, some names coming. Write it down. Okay, use that. I'll give you an example. 3 days ago, I did my meditation, and you know, like, nothing was coming. And when I finished, something came, a book came to my mind. I was like, okay, what is it? Okay, so I used this, and then I talked about it, and then I was like, okay, that maybe this story, like, okay, but it didn't feel really. And sometimes those impulse gonna feel, I don't understand. Don't worry about it. Just take notes of it. Because three days later, I mean, actually this morning, it all became clear. I had the answer of the impulse I got 3 days ago. But you're not controlling those. You have to trust and have faith into the unseen, which is there to help you to get to where you want to go. Okay. Number 6, you need to repeat to yourself, oh, there's a mistake there. I am a quantum leap. I am making a quantum leap. I know exactly where I'm going, and I'm open to the unexpected. You remember what Rochelle said about flexibility earlier? She said you need to be open. That is exactly what she meant. You need to be open to the unexpected, because that's going to be a lot of unexpected things that can come into your life. But if you're not open, if you're not saying yes to every idea, right, and you're not trying to see the good in it, well, again, you're going to stay stuck in reverse, which you don't want to. And then you date your entry. So basically, like you put the date of today, right? So like, let's say that you do this. Okay, this is the impulse I got. This is the day. This is today. And you want to do this for 30, 60, 90 days straight, every single day. What you will do, and what you're going to realize, is everything will expand in your life. You're going to start getting insight, like crazy insight, things that you're just like, oh my God, like how did I come with this? And then you need to act on it. And I promise you, you will see opportunities in your life that you cannot foresee right now.
I see Caroline has a question. She says, how do we know that it's ego, whether it's ego sending the message and not source? So how do you distinguish between the two when you get this impulse?
You
Or
know,
are you saying just write everything down?
you write everything down, but you know when it's ego and you know when it's source, because the ego is about you. Source is about the greater good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like there's a different feeling, but you should write everything, because you don't know when that particular insight will be necessary for you to get to where you want to go. And by the way, when you're writing things, you're writing it with a pencil, with a pen, and a piece of paper, not on electronics. Like I see so many people say, oh, I'm doing the exercise, Mark, and they're doing this on their phone, like with two fingers like this. You're not connected. Which when a pen and a pad, what's happening is every time you trace something, you're creating. You go from nothing to something. So if you're like one of those people that, you know, they do everything electronically, you need to go back to old school and get a pen and a pad and write down, because you want to start creating like those insights. So when that insight comes, then you create, you're writing it down, and that insight might be available to you in a month from now. It might be like 6 months from now. You don't know. But the fact that you write it down, what you wrote it down, what's happening is you're open to the possibility when you're ready, when things are aligned, which again, I cannot tell you when it's going to be aligned. Does that answer your question?
Excellent.
Beautiful. So this is this exercise will definitely change everything in your life. So I really want you to truly start utilizing this. This is designed to, and it's practical. You can implement this right now, and you will see the great things will occur. And it's so good. I absolutely love it. What if we get so many insight and don't know where to start? Well, that's what's happening right now. This is the, like we call it a paradigm. So this is the habitual behavior that you are having right now that are asking those questions. And you're not having that faith that the right answer will come to you when you need them. Like, and this is what the mindset is all about. You know, you have higher faculties that we are utilizing them randomly. We don't understand how they work. But when you're, intuition is one of them. Intuition is a higher faculty. It's not a sense. Okay, like people are calling this the sixth sense. This is erroneous. It's a mental faculty, and it must be developed. And you developed it by training it. But if you're not trusting in yourself, if you not have faith, if you're not practicing to really sit and be calm and listen, in which you're doing this through visualization, through meditation, you're never going to develop it. And then when the insights are coming, then your reasoning factors are coming in between, and then you're trying to see, oh, is this right? Is this not right? Or maybe not. Oh, that's too much. I have too many. So then you're creating confusion because you're not having order in your mind. Does that make sense? Oh, we just did a full circle.
I see. Urian came in with a question. He said, what if you're uncertain about what to wish for? How can you find a direction that would be best for you? So how do I know what I'm wishing for the most, Mark? How do I decide?
Yes, I mean, we have an entire program just on that, where that's exactly what we do is we starting by looking into what is it that you want. And I believe actually the Forbes did a study on this, and they realized that 93% of the population do not have a goal, even business owner. Mm-hmm. So it's starting into business, right? They're starting into business and they don't have a goal. Like basically the goal is like, okay, I want to do sales. Fine, it's great. But if you don't have something to aim for, you are failing. I mean, you are planning to fail.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that a lot of people are not taking the time to really think about what is it that they want. And the desire is extremely important. And this is something that I love to talk with people. It's just like, what is your desire? And with the proper questioning, you find what is your desire. So to answer your question, the way you're going to get there is really by asking the right question.
Oh, and I have a good one from Caroline as well. Do you do this exercise for every desire you wish? What if you have several goals, which is similar to what Urian says? Do you know, if in the morning you're, I don't know, maybe wishing for a partner and then wishing for a good business, do you do two exercises or do you prioritize one or the other? Help us
No,
out,
like
Mark.
basically, again, a lot of people have many goals and it creates confusion.
Yeah.
It's totally creating a disservice to yourself instead of creating order. You should have one goal that you're working on. And I mean, I can go into details into goals and all those things, but you should have one thing that you're aiming on. And all of the other little goals, which like people like to call it like short-term goals. I don't like to call it this way. I'm just not focusing on those because those will happen on my way to my big goal anyway. So all of my attention, my focus is on that big goal after what I'm after. So I'm doing my exercise only for that big goal. So all of those little tiny other things that I want, I know they're going to occur in my life quickly. And the faster and the clearer I am on that big, massive goal, the easier it is for me like to create those little tiny stepping stone to get to the big goal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I hope that clarify.
Excellent. This is so refreshing. Mark, lots and lots and lots of very good questions. I really, really like the quantum leap exercise. I think it's something that I myself will start. Yeah, and I'll let you know how it goes in 30 days or so.
But I promise you that.
But I think it's about opening myself up to that possibility. And I hope that everyone who's listening in as well is ready to join on this journey. Let's be open to these possibilities. And this 12-minute exercise, really, it's 12 minutes out of your day. I mean, that's like listening to 3 or 4 songs on your music device. So, I think investing in yourself when it comes to something like this, it's creating that order and ensuring that you're working towards something that you really, really want to have desired come through, then extremely powerful.
It's beautiful. I absolutely love it. And what you're going to realize is you're going to start loving visualizing. And I want to bring you to a point. And if you find this valuable, get in touch with us. Mm-hmm. You can find me at marcjospitre.com or send us a quick email at info@marcjospitre.com. And I am on everything, every social media platform that you can find. I'm everywhere. So that's my name as well. So it's very, very simple. But think about it. Visualizing. It is so powerful that we are spending huge amount of money to go and see perform people that are visualizing every day. Mm-hmm. Artists, mm-hmm. performers, people which are into sports, all of those has like in common that they visualize. And this is for the most part, like a lot of them have been getting into that level through visualization. So why are you not adding this as a professional business owner part of your daily activities? Mm-hmm. Like think about all the concerts you went to see, I don't know, Madonna or Ariana Grande or like, Coldplay. Those guys, if you saw some interviews with them, those guys are avid meditators and visualizers. Like they do visualize every day. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like Lewis Hamilton in Formula One. Like just start thinking. you will see that all the top performers, they all visualize, they all meditate. Why is it?
I think that they have a secret that it's an open secret, so we may as well be jumping on that at the moment.
I agree. And if like this crisis was just for that, for you, that you realize, you know what, maybe I should start acting like all those people. Maybe like that's going to be your massive shift into your life, into what you want to create for yourself, for your family, and for humanity.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have another question from Jorien. Thank you for this very inspiring webinar, both of you. This is giving an extremely positive vibe, which is super good. That's exactly what was our intention, and useful in this strange time. My daughter, at 6 years old, taught herself to ride the bicycle purely by visualizing. She hated to practice.
Amazing. So we all have the ability to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like my mentor, she wants to win the world championship in horse jump, and she cannot practice right now because her coach or trainer is like far away from her home. And so she's like, you know what we're gonna do is, I bought you a couple camera, and you're gonna attach the camera on you, and you're gonna do the ride. You're gonna ride my horses, and you're gonna just give me instructions so I can do it through visualization. I mean, she's the one that taught me to visualize, and everything she achieved was through visualization. And she's riding her horse on a like wooden horse at home, while listening and watching the videos that her coach is doing. So she's doing this through visualization. And she said, I'm going to be a better rider. I know that for a fact. I'm going to be a better rider when I can go back on the horse, because I'm practicing every single day.
Amazing. The power of the mind. The power of the mind.
The power of the mind.
So I think everyone, thank you so much for joining us. I really enjoyed the conversation with you, Mark. Are there any final thoughts that you want to share with the listeners? The one key takeaway?
Well, what I want you to do is, I really want you to think about this as the greatest opportunity that could have come into your life, and really have this positive mindset about it. And what you're going to realize is everything in your life is going to change, because you're not going to be a victim anymore. You're not going to be someone which going to blame conditions and circumstances for what is happening, but you're going to use this as a launching ramp to really launch yourself like to the next phase of your life, which we don't know how everything's going to be after this, but really take it this way.
Indeed. Very, very good point.
How about you, Michelle? What is your last remarks?
Yeah. So for myself, my key takeaway, for everyone on the call, definitely thank you so much for joining. Just like Mark said, you have the possibility to take the future of your business into your own hands. And as a business owner, the onus is on you to protect your business. And there are a number of ways that you can do it. Hopefully this crisis, the opportunity that comes out of this crisis is that now you know one more way to protect your business, whether it's continuity planning, but ensure that you have plans in place. Ensure that you're thinking through how it is that you are going to protect what you have worked so hard for, so that you can achieve the results that you want to in the long term.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much, Rochelle. It was an honor to do this with you. Thank you, everybody, for joining, and stay safe. And we see each other on the other side.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.